Paltrocast.
Brent, thank you for taking the time. I really like what this film is because I thought that it was just going to be a hit piece, but you get us 10 or so minutes into the film into having some sympathy for the guy. Yeah. So without giving too much away, how much of the story did you know about the Pharma Bro before you started on the project?
Yeah, and I mean, we can give it away. I'm totally fine with it. It's the movie itself was an experiment about a year. Okay, so Martin is actually exactly a year ago. Yesterday, 6 years ago, Martin Shkreli announced to the world, September 20th, 2015, Martin Shkreli announced to the world that Daraprim, they were raising the price of Daraprim, and then 6 years is gone as it is. We started 5 years ago. So it was about a year into everything that was happening. He had done the price raise. He had bought the Wu-Tang album. He used it as a coaster. He was being a dickhead online to everyone. And then I found myself in this like rabbit hole looking around online for him. And I just showed up on his live stream. And I was like, this guy he's here right now. He's live streaming and you can call him and he'll answer and you can ask him anything you want. And I was so curious and so into it. And I just started recording myself, like calling this guy all the time. And that's how it started for us. Like it really kind of went down this whole, I was like, I'm getting my whole documentary from just calling in. It's really weird moments.
As you say early into the film, this is real journalism happening right now. And you're saying that as a joke, but it actually is, because how many documentaries on a person of note do you actually see that person interacting with the documentarian? So did you have a script or anything in mind when you made that first call, or is it let's let the cameras roll and see?
Nothing. And it's very organic. None of that was repeated. Like even that first call that you see me doing it, that's my first call. Like it all happened exactly as it just sort of played out. There's never been a call sheet or a budget or anything. It's not like a normal film. Like this was the weirdest thing I'd ever done. It was like a 5-year experiment. And I don't know, I didn't even know really like when or how it should end or anything. It was just what it was. Even like moving into his apartment building was part of like this journey where I was like, well, I've gotten as far as I have now. He keeps saying where he lives is to come get to know him. Let's do it. And we just moved and started doing this and moving this way. I will say like him going to jail put like a little bit of a twist in things because it happened so suddenly with the Hillary Clinton hair thing. And you're like, oh, I didn't quite get what I wanted out of him, but maybe everybody else can help tell the story. But back to the journalism thing, like here was the journalism in 2015 on Martin Shkreli. It was like AIDS killer buys Wu-Tang album, uses it as coaster. And you're like, you go through and you're like, well, hold on a second. Like, let's break this down a little. Like, has anybody talked to a toxoplasmosis patient? A patient that has toxo? Has anyone talked to Wu-Tang about this? Has anyone asked his lawyer for a comment? Has anyone asked him for a comment? Why aren't all the journalists on this live stream just actually getting a comment from him?
Right.
And I felt no one was going that deep. So I was like, let's do it. Let's start really early, go back to Shkreli, Albania, and like, let's see what his family was like and move all the way through and see who he is like. He's a boy genius in school. He grew up in this terrible part of Brooklyn. It all just added more to it. And yeah, it's a cheeky joke, but like there was some bad journalism going on. No one was actually, people were saying he raised the price of the EpiPen. Like people were just getting it all wrong. And so I just went deep. That was it.
Yeah. How long were you in Albania for? Was that a quick trip? And how long in advance did you know you were going to Albania for that part of the film?
We had talked to like a fixer who knew the mountain range pretty well. I was only there for like 2 or 3 days. Somebody from like Montenegro had gone over and knew English and said like, oh, there's actually some people who are related to him here. And that was when I was like, okay, I'm coming over now. That all happened pretty quick. Same with like going to Morocco to interview Wu-Tang, Silver Rings from Wu-Tang. Those are really quick trips. The live streams I took the most time on. That was like excruciatingly staying up all night. And there's like a team. It's not just me. Like documentaries take some people to make them.
Yeah.
So there was it was like we did shifts and made this together. But those were excruciatingly long. And you're sitting there at like 5, 6 in the morning watching this guy do finance lessons. And you're like, what am I doing with my life? This is insane. But we would record them. And I didn't know the value of recording those until much later.
Yeah, well, you mentioned having other films and other projects, which I'm a fan of your prior work before this. I didn't know right away, hey, this is Brent's film. So when I saw like, oh, the guy did those great Chris Farley documentaries and Pistol Shrimps, et cetera, et cetera. So clearly you're able to work on more than one project at once. And I say that because a lot of filmmakers, one project at a time, that's all they can stomach.
Well, I think that's the documentary industry is really quite different and quite unique. Is like the barrier to entry on a documentary is it's so easy. Me and you could come up with an idea right now and just start filming, but finishing them is extremely hard. And where's your ending? You didn't script this out. What is it? What does it look like? What's the time frame look like? Who edits this? How long? And for us, like those films you just said, like Pistol Shrimp, Who Let the Dogs Out, these ones, we made those in between making Shkreli. Pharma Bro is like a slow burn that I just knew needed more and more time and more layers to make it entertaining. And in the end, you're like, what was the experiment? What did we learn? And you're like, well, we learned that human nature is really effed up and that Daraprim is still $750 a pill. Like we learned nothing. We learned nothing, but we got an extremely odd sort of like wrinkle in pop culture. Young CEO buys Wu-Tang album. Like, you can't write this. This is insane.
Right. We get a reference to Macho Man Randy Savage within the first 15 minutes. And something that struck me as a wrestling fan, somebody who gets to interview a lot of wrestlers, is do you think that there's a lot of influence in Martin from wrestling bad guys, that maybe even it's a persona or a character that he was doing based on wrestlers he liked?
100%. Some of his live streams were at SmackDown and different. He's a huge wrestling fan from what I gathered from these live streams. The idea and creation of a persona. I don't even know if my quest was to get to know the real Martin Shkreli. I can't even tell you if I got the real one. I got the live stream version of it. When I go into his apartment building, I think I got the version when you meet somebody face to face for the first time. But that's what you got. You got whatever he created. And what he created was like a bad boy based off of the media, and he played along with it. And, for better or worse, like whether you like him or not, he's there. And that's a little bit of sort of like the mystique and of wrestling, which I've always enjoyed. But this is real life. And like that has consequences too, and if you're hurting people, that has consequences. And if you're an asshole to the empathy of that, like that also has consequences. So like, is he an ass? Like, yeah, he's a fucking asshole to a lot of people. Like, I don't know what else to say. But I think there's some real moments, and I don't think anyone ever really got into those. And I hope we did. Talking to patients, that's some real stuff there. These are people that are affected by that. I'm glad we got one in the film. I would have loved to have had more patients that they didn't want to talk on camera, and I totally understand. But yeah, sort of full circle on the wrestling thing. Absolutely. I mean, this is storytelling. This is like creation. We really try to sort of hold that against sort of supervillain elements of this. Blumhouse was a perfect production company for that. Like living in that horror film world. Like I saw the Jinx, and it really influenced how I made this movie.
Watching that opening, the film opens, it's not spoiling anything if there was actual news coverage. It opens with him on the stand before really important people. And I'm just watching and going, that is clearly a wrestling bad guy. And then I was watching going, I know which wrestler stole this from that, which I could tell you off mic. But the bottom line is, great film, big fan of that. And again, I really like some of your prior work. But what's next for you now that this is actually done and you're doing all the media and the touring around it?
Next is more with Blumhouse. We want to keep going. Like, this is the sort of cool thing about documentaries right now is like the industry's massively grown. And when I started making docs, you could not get them on streamers. That wasn't a thing. Right. YouTube started coming, and like the idea of doing documentaries where you can go and pitch them out to HBO and Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus. Like, this is incredible. And what I found is like there used to be a category just for documentaries, and now that's expanded so much further, where there's music docs and like socio-political docs and comedy docs and like horror docs, not murder docs. That's its own thing, but like horror docs is so fascinating. I think Blumhouse is like right in the right place to be doing a ton. So we have a lot percolating with them right now. They've just been such a pleasure to work with, and it just fits so well in like a world where like real life is funny and it's scary and it's it's outrageous. And I can't believe a lot of these stories are real. So we're heading down a path of a lot of those.
So if I hear that correctly, it's keepcheckingdeadline.com to see when the embargoes lift, and that's when we'll know what's next from Brent.
That's exactly it. Hopefully they don't take me 5 years to make each one of my movies. We have quite a few. The pandemic's been great for editing. We've been able to like sit and really look at some of these stories. But yeah, keep making people laugh and make them a little bit frightened would be a lot of fun. That's the goal.
And then the last question here, and you can say as little or as much as you'd like. That's Brent. Any last words for the kids?
The kids. Wow. Holy cow. What a great question.
Oh, I started using that one when I was 16, like as a joke. Like, do you have any advice for the kids? And then people start actually waxing poetic. And you seem like a guy who's learned a thing or two by working, just a thing or two,
Yeah, I think especially if you're a kid and you're a filmmaker, you want to be a filmmaker. Like, it took me a really long time to start watching the greats. I just didn't. I would just watch whatever's next on TV. And when I started sort of digging into like people and films that I like and why I like them and watch them over, that really helped be a filmmaker. So if you're a kid who wants to be a filmmaker, like watch Errol Morris, watch Brett Morgan, watch Jesus Camp by Rachel and Heidi, watch Exit Through the Gift Shop, watch these weird movies, because you don't have to be so literal if you want to be a documentary filmmaker. You can get influence from a whole bunch of different places. Roger and Me from Michael Moore, huge influence on why this film was the way it was. You want to look at The Jinx and Robert Durst and how Blumhouse put that together. That's why I went to Blumhouse with this movie. Like, you start to understand your trajectory and why you're unique. And usually it comes from a lot of the stuff that you look at and what you watch and what you take in and what feeds you. And it doesn't always have to be like old black and white stuff and boring stuff. Like, you can find it in, I think the guys that made Wild Wild Country, they just did the Netflix series Untold. Geniuses. These are some of the best filmmakers. And I think they're younger than me. Like, it's amazing. So get your influence from wherever you can. But if you want to be a filmmaker, like watch, and you want to be a documentary filmmaker, watch the greats.
Can't thank you enough for your time. Looking forward to what's next.
Yeah, thanks, man. This is so great.
Paltrocast.